town of the good, the bad, and the weird. You either live by the gun, or you die by the sword.
Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. I'm Nico.
And I'm Chris. And today we are watching and reviewing the most Murica movie ever created, Independence Day.
Murica!
And to celebrate, I got us the most Murica drink that the local Come and Go had. That was not alcohol, because I can't drink alcohol.
And
drive. Especially during a weekday. So I got us an Arizona iced tea Arnold Palmer.
Murica.
Being Arizona iced tea, it is a lot of liquid, so I will split this with you.
Sounds good. I personally have my tinfoil hat ready.
I should have made one. I was not prepared.
I'm so excited for this. I have been doing so much research on aliens. I love this shit.
Yes. You love aliens almost as much as I love Hollow Earth theory.
They're very related, but still, to be fair, I think we've gone 3 Night with the Lads without mention of anything alien.
I will say my husband has come home both at a reasonable time and without fuming about lizard people.
Or smelling of air freshener.
This is true.
Oh,
before we get started, so on the way here, you will never guess what delightful Fresh Prince song was on the radio.
The new Aladdin song or something?
Nope. Wild Wild West.
Jesus, they're still playing it?
It's still on the radio,
God
apparently.
Damn.
I hadn't heard it in a while, but there it was.
Jesus. Well, for some reason, we picked multiple Will Smith movies in a row without actually thinking it through.
Yeah, but also, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the movies I like accidentally have Will Smith in them. Not because, I seek out Will Smith, but because he just happens to be in the movie.
Will Smith seeks you out.
Apparently. It's a little intimidating.
Well, so we're talking about Independence Day, in case you haven't figured it out.
Yes.
We're super excited about
Celebrating
this.
the 4th of July in true alien fashion.
This was actually my first time watching it. Ever. I'd seen pieces of it, but I'd never seen it in its entirety.
Yes, I feel like this is a really good example of a movie where it doesn't matter whether or not you've seen it or not. You have either seen a clip of it, or people have quoted it to you so much that you didn't realize it was from this movie.
Yes. No, I mean, it's an iconic American and alien film.
Definitely. And the fact that it is set for the 4th of July, it came out right before the 4th of July. The screenings happened on the same day that the movie says it starts, which I think is the 2nd of July.
Yes.
And we were talking about this last night on the group chat. There's lots of patriotic movies, but there's not a lot of 4th of July movies. So they kind of cornered the market here.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to do about 4th of July besides drinking fireworks and hanging out with family and friends.
You don't stand in the front yard and play the trombone real loud?
No, as we've talked in our group chat, I have kept my eyes to the skies. We are being trained by the government to watch the fireworks, to watch for the aliens.
This would explain the Midwest's habit of standing in your backyard and shooting guns into the air.
Maybe.
I forget you're not from here sometimes.
No, I'm
By
not.
the way, there's a fun game you can play if you live in certain areas of the United States on 4th of July, and it's called Guns or Fireworks. And you get to guess, and half the time you're wrong.
Yeah, no, almost everywhere I've lived besides Nebraska, we haven't really been able to do fireworks. When I was a kid, we took a vacation to Hawaii. And up until then, I'd lived in Alaska, and my only experience with fireworks before was 4th of July, the sun was still up. And
Daylight fireworks.
And when we were in Ohio, you could only do snakes, smoke bombs, and sparklers. So I
you're
never got to see fireworks for the first 8-9 years of my life.
Good. Well, I mean, maybe that conditioned you to not be terrified of them, like most kids are.
Nope, never have been afraid of fireworks.
There you go. See, worked out in your favor.
So, anyways, this film.
Yes.
It has a lot going for it.
It has a lot in it. just in general. Let's, like, just the people in it. We've already said Will Smith's in it. Jeff Goldblum, who, anytime Jeff Goldblum plays a overly smart scientist and or entrepreneur, I'm all for it. Let's see, who else? Harry Connick Jr. He's in this one, right? There's so many people. Like, I was looking through the list and I was like, the poster from the thing could have been all just people's names.
Yes, Bill Pullman was in it too.
Yeah.
But there are some people I want to talk about in it later down the line.
Okay.
Someone that I didn't recognize until like when I was watching the special features and they were talking about who was in the cast.
Yeah. I feel you.
But so this movie, I think part of the reason it's so compelling and why it still sticks with people is the cast of characters to begin with, because you're introduced to 3 characters. You're introduced to the president. Yep. You're introduced to a reporter, or I don't know what the hell he does.
Yeah, let's go with reporting.
And then you also have Will Smith's character, who is just an everyday working military man. Yeah. So you've got the civilian, you have the family man, or up to soon to be family man, and you have the leader of our country. And there is that 4th character, the drunk conspiracy man. I wish there was more of him. Drunk
conspiracy man was almost my favorite character, but my definite favorite character was the background character, not even a main character, who sounded like he smoked 6 packs a day every day.
Oh, yeah, the one who's like, I gotta call my mom.
I gotta call my wife. I gotta call my lawyer. Forget about my lawyer. That guy. Yes. He's not even in the movie for very long. But every time he opened his mouth to say a line, you could tell that the actor was just having a really great time with that role and that voice that he'd given him. And
that might be his real voice, though.
I don't know. I didn't bother to look this man up afterwards. I just really appreciated the show.
But, so, with that, though, the one thing that's impressive about this is they've made a compelling movie with not really one central character.
No, there's a lot of characters, and it's even hard to say that those are the 3 main characters.
They are, I will say they are the 4. They are the 4 main characters. The wives are more of a side character.
They definitely are, and even the, buddy people who show up and are part of the scenarios later, who some die, some don't die. I mean, it's war on the worlds here. But yeah, they're the 4 main characters, but you don't spend the movie analyzing them like you would a normal main character.
Yes.
The side characters play a big enough role that they're impactful and important, and most of them pretty rememberable.
Well, it gives credit to how well this movie was written, and the fact that you don't feel like you're cheated and that there isn't character development. They do a very good job of building, just establishing, okay, the president, he's a family man, his wife's busy, he's just doing his presidential stuff. Will Smith is just trying to live out his day. He's supposed to have the day off. Jeff Goldblum's character's doing Jeff Goldblum stuff.
Yeah.
And then the alcoholic man is
flying airplanes around.
And spouting alien stuff.
As you do.
Yes.
Yeah, and it also, I think, the writing, all of the characters were given some form of backstory, character development, personality quirks, even their, the wives, Will Smith's girlfriend, Will Smith's almost son, girlfriend's son. They're all given little quirks and bits and things to make them feel more realistic as opposed to fill in actor B here.
Or here's the comic relief character.
Yeah.
And part of that, honestly, there was a lot of ad-libbing in the movie. Especially with Will Smith's character and Jeff Goldblum's character and Jeff Goldblum's character's father.
Which ended up working out really well. And the interaction between Jeff Goldblum's character and his father felt very much like a father-son relationship because they were allowed to go and just be themselves and work on it themselves, which I think worked really well. The father was definitely a memorable figure. He didn't feel inauthentic, even though he went for the full-on
stereotypical Jewish dad.
Yeah,
from New York.
From New York, yeah. The traffic complaining, the food complaint, just all of it was really, like, very funny, very put
Complaining
together.
about his son getting motion sickness on Air Force One.
Yes. All sorts of things that are very, very dad feeling. But at the same time, because they went all in with it, and he wasn't the only character to be that over the top and that ridiculous, he didn't feel like the weird comic character who's just in there and might be on the verge of offensive. He just was part of this crazy world.
He like we said, it seemed he felt believable.
Yes. Even the drunk guy felt believable, and he was probably the most over the top character in the bunch.
But at the same time, we don't really see a lot of him in the movie. That's why I'm very hesitant to include him as like the fourth main character.
Yeah.
But he's a very important side character is what he is.
He is. He definitely moves the plot along when needed. But I also kind of liked that we didn't see him too much because this is an alien movie and he is spending his whole life ranting about aliens. And while they established that, he wouldn't have been adding anything extra to the film if he was in there more. So, hey, it's already kind of a long movie.
Yeah.
If he'd been in there more, I think it would have just made the movie less, I guess, war-esque. In more of an abduction side horror.
Yeah.
It would have changed the tone just enough that I don't think it would have appeased so many people.
And on top of that, too, we have the different romantic subplots of the movie too.
Yeah, which was an interesting bit to try and keep track of.
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, we have the president is the family man.
Yes.
The Jeff Goldblum's character and the advisor, they're an old flame that's still there, but they're separated.
Yes.
And Will Smith is just about to start the family. So we kind of have like the multiple stages, and then also the alcoholic man, the alcoholic crazed alien man. He has no romance. His is dead. She died.
Yes, but they do show his kids, and that development gives him more of a reason to exist than if he was just in the movie.
Yeah, than just someone spouting.
Yeah.
Which there's actually a deleted scene. I don't know if you watched the extended edition.
I did not. I watched the theatrical version.
Okay. Well, in the extended edition, when when Will Smith's girlfriend and the president's wife are walking through the streets, there's a man who comes out of the rubble preaching that the end is near. One of the religious doomsday people.
I feel like you really can't call them doomsday people, though, in this movie, because I think they might have been right.
To a point, I guess.
I will say that this movie, while it did make a point to say that the entire world is being attacked and that, this is a worldwide problem, it stayed very focused on America and America fixing this problem, and then just telling the rest of the world, hey, this is how we fixed it. Y'all should do the same thing.
Well...
And it seemed to have worked. Everyone in the end was like, hooray, we did it.
It's called Independence Day. I mean, it has to be focused around America for that. I know other countries have their Independence Days.
It's just a very funny quirk, because they did make an effort to put it in there just enough, but also at the same time, like, we could have pulled another, end of the world sort of movie where apparently only New York and San Francisco go down.
Or it's the start of it, or whatever. Well, that's one thing, is the director mentioned that this was intended as like a reimagining of War of the Worlds, like an updated, more modernized version.
And you can definitely get the sense from that, especially if you've listened to the radio version of War of the Worlds. This is definitely a much more lighthearted and comedic take on the whole thing. But the overarching themes are definitely still there.
Yeah. So, this movie, it's not only well written, it's the special effects that really give it its timelessness.
Yeah, definitely.
Which, they wanted, so their approach to this movie, special effects wise, was to try and use the simplest effects that they could first, and if that didn't work, try the next level of effects.
And I think the reason why, even rewatching it now, it works is because they went that route. Because, parts of it definitely have aged. And there are definitely scenes where yeah, okay, it's a little corny, but the corniness matches the corniness of the characters and the comedy lines that they deliver, and so it's very easy to gloss over the bits that maybe aren't as smooth as they could have been.
Yeah. One thing that I found really interesting with this movie is that with the special effects, like, they were talking about how they compiled everything. And one of the, like, the shots of the flames shooting down the streets.
Mm-hmm.
When they originally proposed that, the special effects crew was like, well, we're going to have to superimpose this. We're going to have to film this, superimpose this. This is going to be like a $10,000 shot. Are we sure we want to do this? And he's like, why don't we just build a miniature, put it on its side, and put a launch fire underneath it? So they shot it at like at a 10 degrees off of 90,
mm-hmm.
and just let the set act as a chimney for the fire.
Clever.
And then superimpose the trucks and people on.
Yeah.
But it's a practical effect that really works.
Yes. And the other thing that I think visually they chose to do with this movie, which I really liked because it gave me something to giggle at, was where they went design-wise with the aliens specifically.
Mm-hmm.
They are in a flying saucer. Granted, it's a very large flying saucer.
They said it's what, like, the small one was like 4 kilometers wide or something.
I don't even remember.
Something.
It was ridiculously large, but especially when they're coming in from space, you can definitely clearly see, like, this is the very classic flying saucer outline and profile. We've got a laser beam coming down from the center.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, no cows were, abducted this way. But there is a laser beam from the middle.
Yep.
And then the aliens themselves, once you take away the armor, very classic, big head, big eyes, weird, grooby hands.
That was actually the point, is they wanted to tie into the original mythology of aliens.
That's a funny phrase to say.
Yes. Well...
Are you referring to the Roswell incident?
Roswell, in my opinion, there could have been something that happened, but I don't think they brought it to Roswell. Maybe it was just a holding cell for it originally, but it could also have been secret technology because we were trying stuff at the time. There is evidence of it.
Well, and this movie also hints at the Roswell incident itself, and
mm-hmm.
it also plays very heavily off of the Area 51 joke, where the president himself doesn't even know Area 51 exists, and then partway through the movie they're like, no, everything that you could have possibly thought of, we've been doing that.
Plausible deniability.
Yes, which did crack me up, especially under our current presidential circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
That cracked me up really hard.
One president I learned, apparently who is a alien fanatic, was Clinton.
Oh, I did not know that, but I also wasn't paying much attention at that time.
I wasn't either. I've heard this secondhand that I guess the first day in office he kept asking about the aliens. I mean
you got to know what you need to know these sort of things as the president.
I mean, that's one of my goals in life. Not necessarily that I'm in a position like that, but I know someone in a position who could know something, and I can bug them ever so often. I won't do it every day. Maybe every week. Just ask them.
Just every Wednesday at 3:00.
What? Wednesday at like 2:20 something. Just some weird time. Just, hey, what about the aliens?
Yes.
But back to the original mythos of this. So they weren't sure of where they wanted to go with that. Did they want to keep the classic flying saucer, the classic image of the Greys or the tall whites?
Yes.
Instead, the creative artist behind it made two concepts, and the director looked at him. He's like, I like this one, but I also like this one. What if we put them together?
Yes.
And so it's a weird combination. We don't really see it because the true invading force are parasites. They've latched onto this physically stronger being and are using them as a suit of armor. Like a freaking biosuit or biomech from like Neon Genesis Evangelion or something.
Yeah. And it was kind of fun too, just from a visual standpoint, because the outer shell or armor, whatever you want to call it, of the aliens It's very imposing. It's very scary. It's got the weird tentacle things going on. Where's its head? What's it doing? It's very spooky, scary.
Spooky.
Yes. And then when they peel back the outer layer to reveal the inner alien, it was very comical because it wasn't what you thought it was going to be, but it was exactly what you thought it was going to be.
No, they took the image of a gray and made it a parasitic animal. I
also kind of liked that was the direction that they went with why we were being attacked, because it made the movie move so much faster, because we do not have to have any backstory, we don't have to have any contact with them beforehand. They're just coming here to fuck our shit up. Yeah. And that's all it is. That's it. That's the whole story.
They compare them to Locusts. Their goal is to mine the planet, take whatever they need, and go off with it.
And I think that was really smart, because a lot of other alien movies spend a lot of time with either trying to get in contact with the aliens, learning to talk to the aliens, battling with them, and a lot of people being like, we shouldn't harm the aliens, we don't know that they're bad. In this instance, it was pretty straightforward.
Well, there's actually a movie I watched from recommendation of OG Philip, which I've learned he is not the OG Philip in our office. Oh. He recommended I watch this movie called Captive State. And
very familiar sounding.
So this movie, it didn't get good ratings, but I really enjoyed it. It has John Goodman in it, and
that's a good start.
I don't know the rest of the cast, which was good because, like, I'm not familiar with their works. Well, it's set kind of if Independence Day had happened, but instead of wanting to kill everyone, they wanted to mine us, but use us as the workforce.
This sounds very familiar. I might have watched a prequel at it at some point, like
preview.
Yeah.
Yeah. This movie just came out this year.
Oh.
So, we'll have to watch it at some point. It's fantastic.
Definitely.
But it also made me think of like kind of the opposite of Neil Blomkamp's District 9.
Yes, very much so.
Where we have, because like before this movie, we don't have a whole lot in regards to like serious alien invasion films, in my opinion.
No, not in the way that Independence Day started the trend and kept, and we've seen since.
I mean, we had Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
But I wouldn't say it was, like, it was much more of a mystical experience where, you know, things were hidden, there was a lot more questions that needed to be answered sort of scenario, whereas this one was, they're coming to get us, they're coming for the wife and kids, get your guns.
Spoilers, I have not seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I know of it,
yeah,
but I haven't. It's one of those ones that's popped up every now and then. I just haven't got around to watching it.
Yeah, I feel you.
But I mean, there's a lot that this movie did right.
Definitely.
Like with, and even then, like with the spaceships themselves, like you said, it starts off with a very traditional flying saucer.
Yes.
But that is indicative of itself when it breaks down and you have the small attackers.
Yes.
Those are completely independent. Like, they don't feel like a stereotypical alien spacecraft.
No, but they also, you know, played the role of explaining the streaking lights through the skies very well. And why, like, the overarching ship isn't the one doing the running across the skies. It's these little ones.
Yep.
And so by having all of these different little components, at no point did you feel like the, like, overarching myth of an alien, especially an invading alien, was left out. Minus, of course, the really strange oddball ones, but those get their own movie eventually.
Well, with the ships themselves, too, the dogfights that they had,
yes,
those were all computer programmed. They didn't. Basically, what they did is they set up these algorithms of, like, we got this number of ships, this number of Air Force ship or Air Force planes, and here's their...
Yes.
This is what we want. Okay, we like how this looks, and then they rendered it.
That's a pretty good way to do that. The only part that was a little, like... I don't know. It pulled you out of the moment was once we had gotten a hold of the ship, and now it's back in flying condition. We just kind of pop in the ship real easy, like, we put a sticky note up on the dashboard for which way is what, and just kind of go.
Yeah. No.
And
that, and him, like, I've flown with them. I've seen how they maneuver.
Like, that tells you nothing, good sir. Like, I've seen truck drivers drive on the highway. That doesn't mean I can drive a semi.
No, not at all. But, like, that, speaking of effects, that alien ship they built.
Yes.
It was so heavy they had to actually use, like, steel framing to build the sets for it.
I mean, it was a very nice set, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And especially since we didn't spend just the, like, initial flight scene in it, we did spend a little bit more time in it. Felt like it was good use.
Well, and like how we talked about, like, Triplets of Belleville, a lot of the CGI blends very well with the footage. It doesn't feel super dated. There's a couple scenes, especially when, like, the ships are coming to the Air Force base and bombing everyone. But other than that, it still has a believability to it.
Definitely. And I also liked that even though the certain scenes, like when we're, invading the ship, when we're coming up to invade the ship and plant the virus and all that sort of nonsense, clearly everything outside the window is CGI, and it's obvious and we know that. But at the same time, it's not distracting, it doesn't feel obtrusive, and it doesn't have that weird Toy Story 1 feel.
Yeah.
On the verge of the creepy valley.
What's the creepy valley?
We'll look it up. I'll show you later.
Okay.
I think it's technically called the Uncanny Valley. And it's when things get too humanistic, but also not.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You can have fun Googling it tonight when you're by yourself.
Sounds very awkward. But back to the aliens. So there's a couple things with them as well, and this movie really got me thinking of, like, when in the history of us believing in things in the space, because there's been theories about stories of things floating in space or floating in the sky, great sky battles, cities being destroyed.
Sure.
Because in my readings, when did we transition really from... Because if you look at the 50s and 60s as the beginning of the alien contact culture...
That sounds about right.
It's post-nuclear war. It's kind of almost like the messages of Godzilla, where we need to lay down our arms, we need to make peace. And these contactees were being addressed as ambassadors. They were going to be the people to speak to us for the aliens.
Sure.
And then we have some sort of transition, and I'm not 100% sure where or the cause of it. There's this transition from them being these peaceful, loving aliens to, what are you probing now?
Yeah, from what I understand and have kind of pieced together over all of the listening I've done this week, it feels a lot like, especially, I think War of the Worlds is a good example, because it did come before this movie, very similar in its feel and its vibe. Obviously without the fun drunk comedy, but the start of World War I and the sudden fear of invasion really kind of sets the overarching tone for a lot of the alien movies. And I think you can see a flux in the overarching alien vibes between people who at any point being invaded by aliens, being invaded by other countries, being invaded by fill in blank here. For a lot of people that was really scary, and this was the first time that was something that was really an option for them in their life. And it's just kind of perpetually continued throughout this most recent history. And so we've seen kind of an escalation, I think, with alien movies that have kind of shown that. And then we dip down occasionally once things start going better, everyone's feeling better, and we get the more, aliens aren't that bad, we should try and talk to them with our weird rings, and they're actually giant octopuses. And then it turns back into aliens are not good, we should definitely be afraid of aliens and shoot them.
Well, and I mean, the War of the Worlds was written between 1895 and 1897, but I don't feel that the fear of beings from outer space really started until post-Cold War.
No.
Middle of the Cold War.
Especially once the technology reached a point where your standard person doesn't truly grasp every component of the new technology that's coming out. And a lot of us, it doesn't bother us. We just accept that the magic phone pocket device is great and it has all of the fun cats on it and we should like it.
But now we know it's constantly listening to us, and if we're talking about aliens, I might get some suggestion on my Amazon account. Hey, we thought you might like this.
Yes. And so I think especially as we see technology getting more and more advanced and being harder and harder for the standard consumer to really understand and grasp. I think that, also shows in the technology that the aliens are showing up in and what they are capable of.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's been my thought for a long time, is that personally, I would love it if it was true. I mean, I talk about this stuff like it's more academic for me because I think they're interesting concepts and ideas.
Definitely.
And it's also fun to screw with people and just like talk about like, oh, our president's really a lizard person. They're controlling us from this hollow earth.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also just a fun topic of what if.
Yeah.
And Doctor Who, I know you're not super into, but Doctor Who does a good job of playing with the aliens and good alien versus bad alien versus invading alien.
I'm a little offended. Have you not seen my Lego TARDIS set?
It's a very impressive TARDIS set.
Yes. I love Doctor Who. I'm just not caught up on super old or super new Doctor Who.
The mid-range Doctor Who, I think, is alien prime real estate. Old Doctor Who was a lot more educational.
Yes, and I've seen some of it, and like there was a one where they're walking around like this labyrinth, and there's all these people from history.
Is that the book one?
Yes,
yeah,
the one where they ends up they're walking around like letters.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That was really cool.
Yeah, if you haven't gotten around to watching that one, or even like a good example of old Doctor Who would be like the episode where they go back in time to Aztec time.
That's the very first one. Those are the only two old Doctor Who's I have seen.
That's a good like baseline. Yeah, you're gonna miss a lot of the quirks of the different Doctors and the different characters, but that's a good example. And then you got your mid-range Doctor, which really does play into the hands of the Independence Day themes, where we've got aliens that are they're coming for us and they're gonna get us and there's nothing you can do about it. And then we've got kind of good aliens. We got potato aliens. We've got aliens that are already here and they are controlling us as we speak.
We also have my one of my favorite encounters, if I can find it.
I do wonder, though, do you think this movie had any impact on Will Smith's role in Men in Black?
Probably. I mean,
he seems to be a fighter pilot a lot, and then also in like the Oddball Alien movie, just enough to be rememberable.
Yeah. So, my favorite alien encounter, and I'm paraphrasing from what I've heard. Basically, these two people, Gustavo Gonzalez and Jose Ponce, in Venezuela, they had been out drinking.
Oh, good start to any night.
And on their way home, they were driving home, and they ran into a ship in the middle of the road. And one of them got angry at the aliens and went out to go fight them. They beat the shit out of him, and his friend went to go help him, and they beat him up too. And then they took off.
I mean, that's about the same plot as this movie.
Yeah. I mean, great. I mean,
a little bit more complicated in Independence Day, but very similar vibe.
Great way to tell or hide from your significant other you got into a bar fight. Not just in a bar fight and Lost.
And Lost, man. Aw.
But speaking of high tech, the scientists who are introduced to who's been researching them for a long time. Do you know who that is?
I feel like I was supposed to, and I did not, but I got a kick out of his character.
He is Data.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, and I mean, he did a great job too, because, like, I didn't recognize him. Like,
no, the crazy hair helped.
Oh, yeah, because we're used to seeing the porcelain skin, the yellow robot eyes.
Well, and then I also found it very entertaining that you could see the two, almost 3 different opinions on the aliens very clearly in this movie. You had you had very briefly shown the hippies who wanted to embrace the aliens and welcome our new overlords. They did not make it very long.
No. See, you have to fight back. You have to make them give you a little bit of respect. Just a little bit.
And then we had the president, who I think did that character did a wonderful job of implanting the we will not go down without a fight. They are on our turf now. We will get them where it hurts. How dare they come on American soil and ruin American cities? I
actually, to a point on that, like he follows the advice of his military advisor, which this movie's a pretty big commentary on like the gung ho American, like here's what we should do, because he's heavily hesitant to launch that nuke.
Yes, which I thought was a nice touch, because it didn't lean heavily, you know, government is the fault versus government is the hero. It was a nice in between balance. So another little interesting tidbit. They wanted, the Air Force or military was actually, we'll film this because it put the military in a good light. It truly did.
Their stipulation is you have to remove Area 51 from the movie. And
you need Area 51 for an alien movie.
Exactly. The director said, we can't do that. And so they backed out.
Which, I mean, fair, because we know Area 51 is a real thing. What is it? I don't really know. It
is a proxy front. That is my opinion of it. They're probably studying high tech. They're probably studying technology there. They're probably developing top secret weapons and stuff. But when people think that there's alien stuff happening there, because it's so publicized, it's a proxy front. They're using it to distract us from wherever they're really hiding the aliens. Hell, it could be somewhere in the middle of Arkansas and we wouldn't know it.
That would make sense.
Yeah. No, of course it makes sense. In the movie, the guys from the last podcast on the left bring this up. They're gonna hide it from the president. Why not? Why wouldn't they tell us?
At least he's only got 4 years of secret knowledge, and then he's free.
Yeah. No. I mean, that is exactly what I would do.
This is why you're not president, Nico.
This is why I shouldn't be in government. And this is why I should have contacts in the government. My brother is going to be in the Air Force soon. I hope he gets high enough where I can bug him about this, because on top of that, he's afraid of aliens.
Oh, good.
He knows it's an irrational fear.
I mean,
but it's great.
That's fine.
I am so excited.
I personally prefer the Indiana Jones theory of that's where they're keeping all of the ancient artifacts that we're not supposed to know about.
Oh, you mean that's where they're keeping the stupid crystal skulls?
Yeah.
God, that movie's shit.
Oh, it was real bad.
No.
And that's from someone who really likes bad movies.
Oh, it's so bad. I don't know how the next one's going to do, because they're planning on making another one, right?
That's the whole reason they made that one, was so that they could.
No, it's going to be a completely different tangent. Because
I want them to bring back young Indiana Jones. That TV show was great.
That's what I was hoping for too, is that they brought that Shia LaBeouf was going to carry the torch. But
I'm okay with it not being Shia LaBeouf.
Yes, with how he is now, but like
no, just at all times. I'm sorry, Shia LaBeouf just has never been.
Not even Stevens?
No.
Oh, I loved Even Stevens.
I've always gotten a weird vibe from Mr. Buff.
But yeah, so this. Back to the movie. We're going on so many tangents. I could talk.
I feel like that's kind of the point of this movie. Is this movie, while having an overarching line, the movie could have been 30 minutes if we'd cut out all the tangents that happened in this movie.
Yeah.
Because what happened was aliens show up, aliens attack Earth. President goes, "The fuck, guys," and then we find out we have alien technology. We shoot back. We win. In the movie.
No,
we
not
have
even
so
that.
We have so many tangents.
We barely fight back with their technology.
This is true.
That was one of the things, is like when they're in their ship, he's logging into this super advanced alien technology system with Windows 98.
Yes.
That was like the biggest, that was my biggest issue with the movie, is like, I get it's of the time, which there was another little thing that was added, that the director was surprised people didn't catch. During the broadcast, occasionally it'll flicker. It's the alien signal that's screwing with our communications.
Oh.
But at the same time, I mean, that's the technology we had at the time. It was something we could understand and that we weren't...
And
it wasn't like, what's the Scientology, Battlefield Earth, where these cavemen learn to fly planes in like a week.
Yeah,
and on top of that, they're hovering jets.
Yeah, I will say that even though this movie is definitely old and we have come a long way in our technology, at least, that the public knows about, it did feel like, we fought them. Kinda. I feel like now would have been a good time to be like, oh, we have a secret technology plane, and it can at least do a little teeny tiny bit of damage. But nah, son, we've only got nukes. That's it.
Yeah.
That's our secret.
Well...
That and Goldblum's hacking abilities.
He's just a glorious human being. He
really is.
Which, by the way, if you get a chance, there's a little featurette in the DVD that you're borrowing. It's about the movie. It's just a rehashing of a bunch of the other stuff in it. But it's him acting like he's infiltrating the filming of Independence Day.
Yes.
Which, from that, I learned he is a tall man. He is 6'4".
That is arguably tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
now that I think about it, most, famous shots I think of with him in it, he's either behind something, like a desk, a car door, or something like that, or he's sitting down. So I never really think about how tall he is.
Or he's lounged out, sweaty.
Let me rephrase. Lounging is the position I think of Jeff Goldblum the most. So I never really thought about how tall he was.
Does your husband know that you think about Jeff Goldblum lounging?
I think that's how everyone thinks about Jeff Goldblum.
But, again, back to the movie. The way they end it is fantastic. Yes, we come out on the top, and it's like, here, we're going to do this. The most compelling character in that is the alcoholic who turns it around.
Yes. Like bravo on them for, building him just enough for you to kind of be attached to the weirdo. Mm-hmm. And then, the second he's introduced, you're like, well, one of y'all's dying. My money's on you. Mm-hmm. Because I like you.
Well... another thing that the director made a comment on is that when creating this character, they understood the difference between movie alcoholism and real world alcoholism.
Yeah.
That's why his character is just slightly over the top where he's believable, but he's not a debilitating alcoholic.
Yeah, and that was kind of a nice rehashing of that character trope. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times we see it where the guy can't do anything. Barely can get to his own fridge, which isn't always the best trope for that character to be. And so this was a nice touch where he is just a functioning man who is constantly drinking Budweiser.
Yep.
All the time.
And another thing that is a good decision by the directors, occasionally, originally, mm-hmm. he was supposed to fly his bi-wing with
that would have
jets.
been hilarious, but also so unrealistic.
Yeah. No, there's a reason they didn't do it. It's because, and that's when they added that he was in Vietnam, and that's when he was abducted. That's how they were able to get that in there. That's why he knew how to fly the jet. And so instead of him being this man knows he's going on a suicide mission, he just ends up being the only person who can do the suicide mission, and he's sacrificing himself for his family.
Yeah. And it was also a nice touch because instead of just having him from the get-go being some drunk guy who can fly a plane and crop duster plane, mm-hmm. which, that's not an unheard of thing. That's a very real thing. But in movie world, people don't just know how to fly planes most of the time. They have to be trained by something, and usually the military. So having him have a military background also kind of made it a little easier for him to just kind of show up and be like, I volunteer.
Yeah.
Me and my six-pack are coming.
But he sobers up like that.
Yeah, which, is needed for the movie.
But it's also great, too, because not only are they getting revenge as humankind, he's getting his revenge on a personal level.
Yeah, and it was a really satisfying revenge, too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when we lose the comedic character, it's sad for a minute, and then you're just kind of bummed that they're gone and that we wasted all of that time bonding with them.
Yeah.
In this character, you didn't get that. You very much felt like, yeah, you got them, dude. Your kids are gonna be great.
Hopefully.
I'm sure the government will give them a scholarship.
Well, and that's the thing, is that they developed very compelling characters. I mean, we keep harping on this, but
it's the entire reason this movie works. Because without the characters, the comedy would have been ungodly cheesy. And the overarching plot's pretty straightforward and simple.
Yeah.
Like, the characters are the entire reason this movie, why anybody liked it, and why it didn't make it onto the Christine shelf of bad movies.
Yeah. And for me, like, looking at it, because, again, I didn't see this when I was a kid. I've only really seen it as a 27-year-old man. And, like, looking back at it, if I had seen it as a kid, I would have connected with Will Smith's character.
Yeah.
But as an adult and getting older, I connect more with, I guess, Jeff Goldblum or the president, or...
Me and Jeff Goldblum's dad in this movie are like the same person.
Yes. You put up with my bullshit. So I guess I'm Jeff Goldblum in this situation.
I mean, good aspirations in life, I guess.
Yes.
But I also appreciated that none of the characters, while they were all given, generic tropes, part of the reason why they were compelling characters, because they were given tropes, and the tropes were either taken over the top, or they were done in such a way that you weren't expecting it. A good example would be Will Smith's character's girlfriend in the movie. She's not just a girlfriend. She's also an exotic dancer. And at no point is she ashamed of that. She's just, that's what she does.
Yeah.
And that's not a problem. And it's not even a story plot. The only reason it's there is to make her more human.
And I love the interaction between her and the president's wife, because when she reveals that, I knew you're the president's wife, she was treating her as a person at that point.
Yes.
And that shows the level of humanity that they're at after this horrific incident.
Yes.
And then she throws in the quip that she voted for the other person.
Yeah, that was a good little jab. The only thing that kind of leaves a weird taste in your mouth, and the first time you watch it, or are rewatching it if you watch it only once a year at 4th of July. Hi, Charlie. Are you hungry?
It's not feeding time.
You say so. The only part of this movie that leaves kind of an odd taste in the back of your mouth when you get done watching it, or more specifically rewatching it if you watch it back to back like we do. Though I don't think anybody does that. So the ships are defeated. We've shown the rest of the world how to beat them. There's a lot of rubble on the ground now.
Yeah.
They don't address, I think, at all, unless I completely zoned out that part, which is possible. But there's just now whole cities covered in rubble and spaceship that they're just like, Happy 4th of July, everybody! We did it! Pew pew!
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing they'll have to do, though. Like, I haven't seen the sequel. I don't...
Oh, don't worry. It doesn't cover this at all.
Okay. I mean, it's a bastion for people to rally around.
True.
But at the same time, we've defeated the aliens. We know how to defeat them. We don't need anything afterwards.
This is true. This is just a...
Pure speculation.
Yeah, and also, I'm one of those people who I've always wanted a superhero whose entire sole powers is putting things back together when other superheroes fuck shit up. That's kind of the superhero I really want, and will never ever get, I guarantee. But because that's my hope and dream, all destruction movies I watch, I spend a lot of time going, boy, that was an expensive building we just broke.
Well, I mean, that's also part of, like, what we do in school and stuff is we talk about, like, we examine a lot of ruined civilizations.
This
and
is
it's
true.
like, what if those civilizations had flourished?
Oh, that's the dream.
Yeah, but, like...
The Hollow Earth dream! They're still
aliens,
down there.
All aliens. That the Atlanteans are aliens. There's so many theories about that too. The one thing I do, like, you know, I get the whole the mysticism of the pyramids, because those things are old as shit.
Yeah.
But like the building of them, like I had a history professor, and he brought it up when we were talking about ancient civilizations. This is at the height of like Ancient Aliens. He's like,
yes, the best TV show on.
His response is, humans just found a great way to stack stuff without it falling over.
I mean, he's not wrong. That is a very stable way to put rocks on top of each other.
And we look at the pyramids and we're like, oh, these great monuments, like they had to have help to build it. There's steps before it. They had different types of pyramids before the Great Pyramids of Giza. And even then, the middle one was supposed to be the tallest. It ended up not being because if you look at it, it doesn't go at a straight angle. It curves part of the way because they started realizing, oh, this is failing structurally, and altered the angle to make it work.
Your cat is funny.
She's weird.
But aliens aside, I think this movie was a really great movie. Mm-hmm. Even if you're not super into the sci-fi alien world, this is just a good rootin' tootin' shoot 'em up alien movie.
It's a fun action movie where our first contact is Will Smith punching it in the face.
Yes.
Punching the armor in the face. We'll call it the armor.
Sure. Punching an alien. And so, I don't know, what would you rate this movie?
That's a tough one since, I mean, I know this movie holds a lot of nostalgia for people. I would say definitely give this movie at least one watch. If you're really into sci-fi, it's a must-see. It's a good, enjoyable movie. The characters are connectable. The story is well done, well written. The effects are fantastic. They hold well. Just don't watch the director's next movie.
Oh.
Godzilla.
Oh, that Godzilla too.
Yes, that Godzilla.
Oh no.
Definitely give this movie a watch. Even though it's old, some of the effects are a little dated. It still holds up.
Definitely still holds up. I would say this is a really good party movie. You got a group of friends over, grab some popcorn, grab some brats, grab a beer. Good movie. Independence
Day. Let the fireworks go. Keep the eyes to the skies. Look for the aliens. They're training us. I'm telling you.
I'm sure they are. They're training us early with those little chickens that poop out eggs.
Yes. I mean, it's like they're giving, or I don't know what they're doing with it.
I don't know how that involves. I'm sure there's
implants.
There we go.
You implant the jelly beans into the chickens and they drop stuff out.
Oh boy.
Aliens. But
it's a good movie. Definitely deserves a watch.
Yes. I will have to watch the sequel still.
You can skip it. It's okay. There's a reason why no one watched the sequel.
It's the same director too.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll put that on the list of bad movies to watch later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, what would you rate this movie then, Chris?
I would rate this a 2 aliens inside of 1 alien.
Double the aliens.
Double alien.
Double things to fear. I mean, it's terrifying.
So scary.
So scary. This has been The Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
Thanks for listening.
Peace.